going to get ourselves started. And Lisa, I'm going to pass it on over to you while I figure out what's happening with my computer. And I am going to put the link into the document just in case they need the website. So
Do I need to open the link in the chat so I can see the slides, or do I just
no,
talk
I
about
say
what we're
ignore the
doing?
slides. They know who we are.
Okay.
We'll do a
All
quick
right.
introduction.
Okay. Well,
We're all
welcome
family
to
now, right?
is this Indie Extended Skills?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm batting 1,000 here. I'm Lisa Steffian, and Alexis Tharp and I are the education specialists at the Center for Educational Partnerships, as many of you know, either through email or through these little gatherings. Pretty much what we do, like, want to just remind you in the beginning, there are a few different things just to keep an eye out for. Um, if you got an implementation survey reminder from Jen, it may not say it's from Jen Meng, but if you got some sort of a survey reminder, make sure you complete that. And Alexis, just from TCEP, emailed out yesterday a schedule for all of the remaining learning bites from Code VA with the days, times, and topics. And a lot of you have already either completed those or are well on your way, but just remember, we like you to do 4 different topics. So maybe check that email out. And if you have any questions, we're here tonight and you can put them in the chat, or we can stay after and we can talk about that. But tonight it's all Brad Fessler, and he's going to do his fancy intro, but he's the guru for us on all the Sphero little robots, and he's going to teach us all these cool things about, for those of us who already know a little bit about using Indie, he's going to take us to the next level.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that Learning Bites email, I think, what is today? Thursday. We sent that out on Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Right. But if you didn't get it, it's because you're good to go. You have either done one of 2 things. You've either completed 4 already, or you've signed up and or completed at least 4. And so we think you're on the right track. So if you didn't get that email, don't go looking for it, because it means you're definitely on the right.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Good
That was
answer.
just a
Okay,
reminder to
that's good.
those who just needed a few more to
Okay.
get them good to go. So yeah. Hey,
See,
Brad.
that's why we're a team.
Yeah.
Okay. Take it away, Brad.
All right. Great job, ladies. Yeah, everyone was perfect tonight. Well done. Well done. Most of you, I think, know me now from previous sessions, but my name is Brad Fessler. I'm the professional development manager here at Sphero. I was a classroom teacher and tech and engineering for 15 years, wrote a bunch of curriculum, did a bunch of other things, and then came here to Sphero. So I'm no stranger to the classroom, nor how any of these devices work in the classroom. So feel free to ask questions. And shout out to Ariana here. Thank you for introducing yourself at BET. Um, you know, I live in Pennsylvania and you guys are in Virginia, so we traveled 3,500 miles to go meet each other in the UK last week. But thanks for stopping in and saying hi, because I would not have been able to meet you otherwise. So thanks for doing that. So tonight we're going to talk about Indie, but we're going to go way beyond the basics that we did in the last session. We're going to start looking at curriculum, different kinds of lessons we can do with math and language arts. We'll look at the app as well, so you can connect to that. So if you didn't download the app, it's okay. It's actually free on both the iOS App Store as well as the Google Play Store. So you can download it there at either one of those. It's not necessary. As you know, you can use Indie without it, but if you want to reprogram Indie, like I'll demonstrate tonight, and you want to play along while we're doing that, feel free to download that app. Check it out. It is free in those app stores. It is called Sphero EDU Junior. And I'll put that in the chat so everyone knows here what to download if you are interested in doing that. But that is the app for Indie. So let's take a look at how we can make math and ELA fun using our Sphero indies. So just a quick review on colors. We have green, go and go faster. We have yellow, slow down. We have red is stop, or as I call it, the boring stop, because then we have purple, which is celebrate, or the fun stop, as I like to call it. And then going down the right side of this chart, we have our warm colors, which are pink and orange, and our cool colors, which are blue and teal. And if you remember one thing about how to remember these color tiles is it's always cool to be right, because the cool colors will make the robot turn right. So that was your quick 10 or 15-second review of what the tiles are. If you don't remember them, don't worry. In the case, there are cheat sheet cards that are in with the challenge cards, so you can take a look there. So don't panic if you didn't commit those to memory yet, that's okay. So we're going to start tonight with math, and then we'll move into the language arts side of things. So we do have a few math lessons that are on edu.sphero.com, also known as Sphero Central, that I had talked about before. But if you go to edu.sphero.com and then you click on Indi, you will see all of the different lessons and resources that we have out there. I mentioned those before. We'll take a deeper dive into some of these lessons here tonight. We start with things like counting, and then we go into addition and subtraction, remembering that this particular robot is designed for pre-K through second grade. So these are pretty lower level kinds of things in the lessons. So don't expect to start looking at exponents or anything like that, because it's not designed for that age group. We're looking at those elementary levels to get us started. So that's where we can find those collections with math, and also we are adding more and more content to that. I do know that it is on our to-do list for our content team to add even more indie lessons over the next year. So you should expect to see some more indie lessons coming. So if there's something in particular that you're really, really looking for, please reach out and let us know, whether it's through me or anyone on the team here tonight, or just send it in to support@sphero.com of like, hey, I'd really love some indie lessons like this. It'll get passed along to our content team, and we'll try to add as much as we can to our plan for content. So the first one we're going to look at is counting with Indy. This starts with our lowest level, just counting by ones here. So in this example, students count the tiles that Indy travels across, right? So we start with the green, that's 1, yellow 2, green again 3, red is 4, right? So we can lay these out very basic just to get our students counting. But then you can also level things up and count by 10, which is a whole nother lesson. And we've already gotten feedback of like, hey, why not count by fives, right? Well, if you can do the count by 1 and the count by 10, just substitute out the number, right, that you're counting by, and you can count by 2s or 3s or 5s, whatever it is that you want to practice. You can have the students doing that, which even lends itself into higher level where you're practicing, multiplication tables, right? And things like that, which we'll look at addition and subtraction here in a little bit and how we can do those things. So here, counting by 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, pretty self-explanatory as we move through this, right? So here, if we want to like ramp this thing way up, right, we start counting through this. So we start on our green, right, 10, 20 at the yellow, 30 at our first teal, 40 at the second teal, green 50, yellow 60. We gave you blue just to help you stay on track, give you some feedback. And then the last green, we have 80, and of course, purple 90. So you can make all kinds of different paths here. You don't have to do the paths that are necessarily in the lesson, but we do provide some for you in the lesson structure itself. So there's all kinds of really fun ways to get kids doing those kind of repetitious kinds of things. in there. Then we come into adding, right? And we can do adding within 10, adding within 20, ramp it up as the skill level needs to increase for students. You can ramp this up to whatever you need it to be. So you can provide students with a path for Indy to follow, and any path you can do, but in theory, it should be 4 tiles, right? So start, add those numbers, and then the equals at the end to allow them to sum everything up. Students will add those numbers. They can fill in with number cards if they want. Um, if you have Bolt as well, you can do a fun number random generator using Bolt. So if you have that tool as well, that's one I like to do where I make a random number generator, pick Bolt up, give it a shake, and it picks a random number within, I can say, 1 through 10 or whatever numbers I want it to be within that range. You can assign those to a color tile, right? So up here we have all of our color tiles that are showing. We can assign a number to each one of those. If we want to, you could do it randomly. You could write it right on the worksheet. Doesn't matter, whatever. And then have them doing the math. The cool part is you can do this 2 ways. You can give them the numbers and have them figure out the path, or you could give them the path and have them figure out the numbers. So what I mean by that is we could give them 2 colors here. They have to add those numbers together and get the sum. But you could, to level this up, also give them, here's this particular color. So they have to figure out that number. We give them a number here. Now they have to figure out what this number and color is to make that work, right? So you're turning this into even really some basic algebraic equations if you wanted to, right? But doing those different combinations can really level this up or level it down depending on your student's needs. So really pretty fun to do this. So here we can see 12, 7, right? Whatever those colors would be associated, depending on what you pick, right? Equals 19. And students would actually solve this in the worksheet for the actual question. So here's an example. We would have students complete this path. So I'm actually going to have you go through and figure out what these actual color tiles would be. And feel free to either throw them in the chat or unmute and tell us as you figure them out. But we're going to start at green and end at red. So we need to solve what these 2 are. So anyone know what the first question mark is going to be? So looking at this one right here. What's that first one going to be? So we're doing right-hand turns. So remember, it's your cool colors. Yeah, first one is going to be teal because teal makes us turn at 45 degrees, which will bring us to our second question mark. And what is our second question mark? Nope, it would not be teal because remember, teal is 45. So we're going to turn this way. 45 degrees to the right would be here, right? If we continued going straight, say this was like a yellow or a green, we'd continue this direction. If you put teal here, that would run us over here, and we just keep going and going and going. Yeah, blue. All right, redemption. Woohoo! All right. Yeah, so we got blue here. So and this is a tricky one, hence why I throw it in the slide. We go 45 degrees here. So now this becomes our new heading, right? And then 90 degrees, so 45 and 45. equals 90. And that gives our 90 degrees here. And that does tend to trip some people up when it comes to that. So yeah, we wanna be careful how we look at those, but 100% way to do it. So let's add some numbers in here. So I'm gonna get my Bolt Plus and I am going to connect it. And just to give you an idea, I will show you what my code looks like here, right? So I can pick some random numbers. So right now I am set for random numbers 1 through 8, and it's going to automatically pick a number for me. What I did though was I used some tricky variables in here to double check and make sure I don't end up with the same number twice, right? Every time I run this. So I'm going to start this. I'm using those fun on button events. I'm going to turn my volume up. Maybe we'll be able to hear it. I hope. And I'm going to pick the first random number, which will be for teal.
Number equals 3.
So teal equals 3. And now we're going to do blue. Right? So we have 3 plus 7. At the end, when we hit our red, we should be at 10, right? So we're getting 3 plus 7 equals 10. So we're actually using, Bolt to actually pick random numbers. Does it need to be this complex of code? Absolutely not. It doesn't need to be complex. You could end up picking the same number, or you could just pick numbers out of a hat or a deck of cards or anything like that. Anything fun to try to mix up the math problem here a little bit for the students. So that is our first example. Again, looking at adding within 20, so we're ramping this up, right? So here we can see an example of what the actual worksheet looks like. We're giving numbers to the worksheet here. We're saying green equals 4, yellow equals 1, and they're going through and solving these, right? So you could have students actually making paths like this as well, so that they're, using computational thinking with math. So now we want to ramp this thing up, right? So let's do some more adult-sized challenges. We're going to bring in some multiplication concepts here to do this. So we're going to play a game to collect points based on the colors that Indy crosses. So we'll add those points to the total scores, or in this case, we're going to multiply those out. So you're going to keep multiplying as you go. So each tile has a point value to it, and we're going to then determine what that is. So notice there's a trick to this one. Green is marked as start, so you can't reuse green in your path here. So let's figure out what is the actual colors here first, and then we'll do our math. So the first question mark, blue. Yep, we're going to turn 90 degrees to the right. So we're going to get blue, which is going to be 3. And then we're going to cross our multiplication sign. What's our next possible here? Yellow. Yep. So we're going to be 3 times 1. Yep, perfect. Yep, right on it. 3 times 1 here. We're going to get 3. So now we can see how that math problem kind of works its way through. And again, you could do this with division if you wanted to. That's probably not pre-K through 2nd grade, right? But we can level this thing up. I know I mentioned before, Indi can be used at higher levels very, very creatively. So here's what it looks like. We got blue, we got yellow. We got our math to go with it. And let's do another one. This should look familiar. We're hitting that teal. Those got to be 5. And then we're going to do 90 degrees to the right, which is what color? We got our teal, number 5. And we got to turn 90 degrees. What color is that one going to be? Yeah, blue. Perfect. So we're going to be 5 times 3 equals 15 here. So we're solving the path and then doing the math that's associated with that path. So now I'm going to give you an adult-sized program to figure out. So get your calculator out. Go ahead and start your math here. Remember, we're multiplying. There is only one path through this. That is correct. There's a reason I kept giving you those teals and blues at the beginning. So go ahead and figure out that one. When you think you have the correct product here, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Yeah, I'm seeing a couple different answers so far. See what everybody comes up with here. See a couple people saying 1440. Yeah. Think we have a consensus here. Yeah, 1440 is looking like the number, right? So let's make sure we get the path correct looking at this. So we're going to start here at teal to turn 45 degrees. Then we're going to turn 90, which actually crosses over. We're actually following the direction of the X here. Then we're going to go 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and back across. Now, did anyone find the issue in the path? Because the path actually isn't correct, but the math is. You got the math. Where's the incorrect part in the path? We're
Is it
putting
the
that
orange?
computational thinking to the test tonight.
Is it the
Sorry,
orange?
sorry it's late and I'm making you work hard tonight.
And we're having to think, right? Is it the orange, the first moon?
No, both oranges are correct. Remember that it's cool to be right.
The pink, the heart.
So if we're following our path, right, we're going to turn 90. We're going to turn left 45. We're going to turn left 90. And when we hit blue, we should go right 90, which sends us off on a tangent here, right? And Indy's going to run away for approximately 3 feet and then stop, because once Indy doesn't see a color tile after a little while, it says, hey, something's wrong. I'm going to stop and wait, see what's going on here. This should actually be pink, right? So your math, given the colors, is perfect. However, the path given to you is incorrect. So you can see how we can take what is very, very simple and we can ramp this thing way up. So now you have to troubleshoot this. And this would actually change your math if we made this correct and turned this into the correct number, which would no longer be 3, it would be 2, which would reduce that. All right. So that's math. That's some math using Indy. I know that's a whole lot of stuff right there, and I definitely put you to the test tonight. And if I wanted to give you one more quick math quiz on this, 1440, how many, if we're thinking about that in degrees, how many circles is that? How many complete circles? Yeah, 4. Yep, very good, right? Woohoo! Lisa's like, I'm on this tonight. I got it, right? She's well practiced on her mental math. Great job, right? So you can see how you can bring in not only the computational thinking, but combine that with the math to do some really cool things. With that being said, there is a resource for you on Sphero Central called DIY challenge cards. And that's literally how I built these for the slides, is I went and did use that resource, take a screenshot and throw it in there. But it is a Google Slides document. So you can have your students even access it, make a copy in their account and start dragging things around to make their own paths and make their own math problems. So you could do some really, really fun exercises using those resources. Anybody have any questions on the math side of this? Everybody good? You're like, whew, that's enough, right? Shut down for the night, right? All right, so let's take a look at some literacy kinds of activities here. So some fun literacy things we can do with Indy. We talked about some of these a little bit before, print concepts, identifying letters, fluency, those kinds of things that are in here. Storytelling, which is really, really fun. But let's dive into some of this in more depth. So if we're thinking about identifying letters, in this example, we're identifying the letter Z with that, my name being Brad, B at the end, or B at the beginning, D at the end, right? If I were reversing those letters, right, which is something that our youngest learners do from time to time, they have a hard time determining the difference between those. We could have them practicing that in a very fun and engaging way by building the path that we use to draw the letter using our Indian color tiles. Another thing that we can do is fluency. So anytime you have a student that's struggling to read a sentence fluently, it's all about repetition, right? You got to get them to practice this. Eventually they get better at it, but just trying to get a student to do the same thing 4, 5, 6 times, whatever it takes, can be a struggle sometimes. So if you can find a way to make it more engaging, that's really, really helpful. So here I have one set up on my desk here. So I have throw the ball. So I set this up the student reads the word as indi goes across the tile. So I'm going to set indi on my green tile. I'm going to say, throw the ball, right? So once I practice that enough, I get more fluent at that. I can add a green tile, right? So now, throw the ball, right? So I have to get faster and faster at this. And you can add more green tiles. You can set, really pick up the pace as you go through. Throw the ball, right? So we can really work on getting our students become more and more fluent by using those green tiles, picking up the pace. And of course, you can adjust the speed of this by adjusting the spacing of the tiles as well. So say this was too fast, I can start spreading these out a little further, right? And making it take longer to read the sentence if I need more time to do that with my student. So adjusting that spacing while adjusting the speeds, we can really make it a fun, engaging way to practice sentences and words fluently for our students. So pretty fun thing you can do here, adding those in. I mentioned this before, one of my favorite things to do is storytelling, right? And that's true with both Indi and Bolt Plus, is turning those robots into the main character and then building fun set pieces, bring the engineering concepts in here and art concepts in, let them build some set pieces out of basic craft materials. It could be cardstock or construction paper, some tape, if you have pipe cleaners or that kind of thing, you can use those. It could just be, scrap cardboard, and we're repurposing the cardboard to make some of those things. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Your school gets deliveries of things all the time, so if you don't have a budget for it, go talk to the people in receiving and be like, hey, when you have a bunch of cardboard boxes come in, let me know, and grab some of those things from them to use them as materials. So those are fun ways to really level this up. I've seen a bunch of them, like people say, they tell the story of the three little pigs, and when they tell that story, they crash through the buildings, right, until they get to the end, and then Indy, being the big bad wolf, stops at the brick house because it can't crash through it, right? So you can do some really, really fun and engaging things. You can level this up. Yeah, that's perfect. Empty boxes from your copy paper. That's a perfect way to grab some of those craft materials, right? We also have the ability to level this up a little more and use multiple indies as multiple characters, right? So as you want to bring this up in level and difficulty for your students to have to think about this more and maybe test their reading skills and how much they have actually understood of that story. Or if you want to test their writing skills, have them write their own story, right? I've seen some really, really cool ones where, we use it to tell the story of, the life cycle of the butterfly and things like that with it, where India is changing at every stage, which is really pretty fun. All right, so those are some cool ways we can use Indi to kind of level things up. I do want to take a look at that new content on Sphero Central real quickly with you before we dive into the app itself. So Sphero Central, that is edu.sphero.com. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. Choose your particular robot. And there's all kinds of things here. So if you need to ever reprint your challenge cards, they're there. If you need to go find the app, it's here. All kinds of other lessons and resources as well. So the first collection is 20 resources. These are the same as what's in the educator guidebook. So those are there. If you don't have the educator guidebook because you just got one Indi, no worries. You can find that in the resources section and you can download the PDF of it. So it's right there. Or you can look at all 20 lessons individually here without that, PDF. You can look at them right here. We looked at, numbers, counting, and the addition subtraction earlier. So we looked at, adding within 10, adding within 20. We also have them for subtraction. So just so you can see what those look like when you go in there, you have a teacher's guide, you have printable number cards. So if you don't have number cards that you can just lay out there, you can take these and print them out if you want. Some of you probably have number cards already in your classroom that you can use. We just provided some basic ones here. If you want to print them out, you can do that. The teacher's guide for these lessons are super nice. It one allows you to make a copy since it's in Google Doc format. You can download it in different formats as well. We give you the objectives, tie into some standards here for you as well, and then walk you through how to prep for the lesson. We talk about the steps in each lesson that are here, how you can get students to go through and practice some things, reflect on what they've done at the end, right? So the nice part about this particular format is if you decide to make a change and you're no longer doing adding within 20, maybe you're doing adding within 50, right? You can make some changes you can make a copy of this doc, make some changes. We want to make this as accessible to everyone as we possibly can. So those are some great little resources for you there. We also do have a student handout for certain lessons. This particular lesson has a student handout. So you can see what that looks like here. It is still in a Google Doc format. So if you want to make some changes, you can make some changes to it. That's simple enough. You can substitute, red with purple if you wanted to, whatever works for you with your students. So lots of flexibility when you're working with that content. There is also a bunch of resources here. And when you go into those resources, I talked about that educator guide. Also, the challenge cards are here. If you purchase the code mat, here's the Indie Land guide for the all of the fun literacy activities that go with it. Even if you don't purchase the code mat, you can still do these and just modify how everything is sitting there. We also have a summer camp guide and an intro to that Sphero EDU Junior app that we're going to look at here in just a few moments. There's a few other things here for videos to get you started. We do have a math and literacy support guide here, multi-language learner guide, special education guides. There's all kinds of other things in here. The one that I did mention earlier is this DIY Allen challenge cards. And when you open that up, you can click make a copy. It will make a copy to your Google account here. And the cool part is these are all drag and drop. So now you can take these, drag them from here, and actually build out your challenge card. So really nice to be able to build your own. As you get students that really have mastered Indie, you can have them making their own challenge cards and then exchanging them with other students. Doing math problems, things like that. If using a device is a problem here, no worries. You can print the challenge card and you can print all the symbols. If you want to do some coloring with this and not print everything in color, we give you some outlines as well. So we can have the students, practicing some of that hand-eye coordination, right? And that fine motor skills and coloring those in to match with that. But all of this is available right under that resources page. We do have some other things in here. There are some 3D printable accessories that you can use. I have one of them sitting here right now, and this is called the Indie Garage. That Indie Garage helps with aiming. Indi, it's a 3D printable part. I use little command strips on here to attach it to my tile because I travel with this frequently and I have to be able to put it in a suitcase. But you could, tape it down, glue it, whatever works best for you and your students. But what this does is it allows you to get consistent aiming out of Indi because some students really struggle and they put Indi at different angles and things like that. This allows them to drop it right in the garage and it'll be repeatable every time because you can tape this tile down and it's going to keep going in that same direction every single time. So it just helps with that. Or maybe you have a student that is vision impaired and really have a hard time with just getting it going in the right direction. That can help as well. We also have some of the Indi tile color information. So there are certain card stocks that can be used. There's information there to help you with that. They are not perfect. Indi is very picky about the color, and that is by design. That is done so that Indi hopefully is less likely to pick up other colors that are in your environment. So it's done purposefully to hopefully not trigger Indi in some different ways that are unexpected. And also, if you're interested in in-class competitions, we do have something called Sphero Global Challenge. Season 5 is well underway. A matter of fact, I think we got about a week or two maybe left to sign up for season 5 before we start to wrap up submissions for the competition for season 5. But we do have season 2 and season 3 already published here. So if it's something that you think maybe you want to dabble in, but you're not quite ready to just, dip your toe in the waters yet, you can go in here and this will take you to all of the resources for those previous seasons 2 and season 3. So you could kind of do it as a club first to get you started and then look at the actual competition. There's some really cool things there. We have some cool things coming in season 6 as well. And Sphero Global Challenge is used for Indi as well as Bolt and Bolt Plus and Rover as well. So you have all kinds of really cool options there. All right, so let's take a look at the Sphero EDU Junior app. So the app allows us to connect to our robot and reprogram its behavior. So once you install that app and launch it, just simply turn Indi on and keep it close to your programming device. Select Indi. It's going to scan for Indis that are close by. We do recommend doing this one robot at a time. Once a robot's connected to, no one else can connect to it at the same time. But if you have like 7 robots sitting there around the room and all 7 are trying to be connected to at the same time, you may end up with students connected to each other's robots, right? So doing it one at a time is recommended. This is totally optional. You never have to use this app if you don't want to, but it does allow you to go further if you're looking for even more challenges for your students. Once you're connected, this is the environment that you're looking at. It is simulating block-based programming. So we have all of our colors across the top. So we have our green tiles, our yellow tiles. The one that I say I always reprogram first is the red tile because once students find purple, they never want to use that red anymore. They've thrown it over their shoulder weeks ago and don't want it. So let's make use of that poor red tile that's been neglected for the last few weeks and reprogram it. So each tile is made up of 3 blocks. It's made up of a movement block, a color block, and a sound block. So right now we're under movements, and we can see we have speed up, we have slow down here, we have our turns, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, but you'll also notice we have 30 degrees here. So if I wanted, instead of slowing down or stopping in this case, I want 30 degrees to the right, I can now set this tile to be 30 degrees to the right. There's also other things here that we can do. There's some fun different stopping things. There's like a dance party one. There's figure eights here. There's circles. So there's all kinds of different behaviors that you could do. So in this case, I reprogrammed it to party. So it's a dance party. So it's gonna make it kind of oscillate back and forth when it stops. So it's still a stop command, but it's a more fun stop command than just coming to a complete stop. When we look at the colors, we have all of our stock colors in here, but then we have sampled colors. We have flashing colors. We have rainbow color. So I can bring this in and drop it here. And it's going to ask me what color do I want this to flash on. So I can set my color, hit my checkbox. Now, when Indy is on that color, it'll now flash that color in the program. And then the last set of blocks is our sounds. So we have our speed up, our slow down, all of our other ones that are already used, but we have some additional ones here. We can play, you know, happy birthday, do some other things here that are really, really fun. But we have these last two blocks, and both of them have different forms of musical notes, which is really, really cool. So I'll come back to this one, but this first one allows you to make pre-made music. So there's pre-made songs that are in here, right? And every time Indy crosses that color, it's going to play the next note of that song. So if I wanted to do row, row, row your boat, every time that Indy saw a red tile, it's going to play the next note. You're like, okay, but doesn't it stop on red? So when I use this particular sound block, I will apply this to every one of my tiles, right? So that way, every time it sees a tile, it's going to play the next note. So I can reprogram all of those in here, right? And I don't have near enough room on my desk to do this, but I'll show you at least what I got here. And we'll start with the slower ones and we'll work our way up. But we can do some tiles. Maybe I can get a bunch of tiles on here. Let's try it. So let's see, there we go. And I'm gonna try to turn, hopefully you can hear this from Indy. Right, so we can hear that each note being played every time it crosses a tile. And when it got to the red, I don't know if you saw the dance, it's kind of wiggling back and forth there. So it's a much more fun stop than just coming to a stop. So obviously we would need a lot more tiles to make this happen and play the whole song, but it gives you the idea of how you can use that to get started. Then, get to the right source here. Then there's this last one over here, and each of these are a different note. So you can hear as I drag through here, we're actually playing a scale. Right? So you can program a musical note to a tile, and now you could bring some musical skills into this and actually have your students program their own music based on color and that particular note that they're playing. So really pretty cool things you can do here. This is one of the first things I did with Indy was I reprogrammed mine to play some Metallica song just because, you know, every elementary robot needs to play Metallica. It's probably why I taught high school, right? But you can do some really fun things here to really bring in the arts part of this to the to the robot and the students as well. Also, when you're in here, if you go to the three dots, there are three forms of driving. You can do RC car kind of driving. And I know it's rotated sideways. I apologize for that. But you know, I can actually drive Indy across. And if you actually watch as I'm driving Indy across, it will show those colors. It's actually playing the sounds that are with it. I'll try not to drive it off the table as I'm going, but you have those there for you as well. And there's multiple forms of driving. We have arcade drive, so think of this as like a touchpad to drive it around. And of course, our Sphero drive, where you kind of just you aim the robot for what is 0, and then push the little nub around to make it drive around. So really some cool ways that you can utilize the fun driving things. And then of course that programming board as well. So really bring those levels to wherever you need it for your students. Lots of engaging ways to do that. All right, so I just threw a ton at you with Indy in that time. Hopefully you found something that was really fun with that, but I want to give a few minutes since this is our last Indy session, I think. I want to give a lot of time here so that you can actually ask a bunch of questions. If you have something, please do ask so I can help you through that with Indy.
It's funny because in my brain, I feel like I knew I could drive Indy, but this feels like a aha moment actually. Like, you know, I could drive it myself. I just thought I only used the mat, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I've seen where teachers use it at the end of class. They'll have like an exit out the door kind of question, and then they'll put out like 3 or 4 potential answers, and everyone drives their Indy to that answer, right? It does 2 things. It makes that you don't have to walk all the way around the room to find all 8 of your Indies or whatever at the end of the class, and they did a ticket out the door, right? And they were engaged while they did it, right? By driving their Indy to that spot. So I've seen that done, which is really pretty, clever and fun.
And they have to collaborate because more than likely it's groups of kids in Indy and they have to agree on the
Yep.
exit ticket answer. So there's talking and collaboration involved.
Yep. And agreeing on an answer. That's
Yeah.
an amazing thing.
Yeah.
At any age, at any age.
All right, so we're gonna open up the floor to you guys. If you've got questions, we've got Brad for a whole another 5 minutes. So yay for that. We won't tell them that, Brad, we won't tell them that you just came back from London, a fantastic trip. So
Oh yeah, it was fun. I don't know how the jet lag was for you, Ariana. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. Had the weekend to recover. My travel day home was 27 hours because of the time change. And then once I landed in New York, I had a 3.5 hour drive home from there. So yeah, it was a long day.
I think in Ariane, we love that you got to go to London as well. That's pretty fantastic. We're gonna put that on our wish list, right, Lisa?
That was
Gosh.
very rough.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness. Sunday night and then had to work on Monday. That is insane.
that is very rough. Ouch.
That's teacher dedication right there, isn't it? At its finest.
Yep. It is lots of coffee and dedication. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
excellent.
I had a question for the Sphero Ed Junior app.
Mhm.
What devices does that work on?
Yeah, great question. So it works for iOS and Android. It is only designed for mobile devices. It does work on Chromebooks because Chromebooks can run Android apps. So it
Okay.
will work on Chromebooks if your students have Chromebooks. It'll work there, but it won't work on like a Mac or a Windows, machine that way. It has to be one of the mobile devices.
Okay. Will it work on a tablet?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, what you saw tonight, I was running from an iPad.
So it will work. iOS is, you gotta help me out. iOS is
Apple.
Yeah, that's Apple.
Apple.
Yep, that's Apple. So that's your iPhones, your iPads, those kinds of things. And then Android could be like, your other smartphones that run Android
Okay.
OS, whether it's Samsung or whatever, but also tablets and Chrome OS actually can run Android apps as well. So that's your Chromebook.
And where could I find a recording of the first indie session?
That is such a really great question. So we have been really working so hard to get everything recorded, and the one session that we didn't get recorded was our indie session. We did a great job with our RVR, remembered, we did a great job with bulk, but somehow we were so excited about indie that at no point did we hit a recording.
Yeah,
But
I just
This
had
one is
my thing.
definitely in recording. So we've got this one. We just do
Yeah.
not have the first indie session recorded. Now,
Okay.
actually, what we may have possibly is maybe our indie session from last year that I'll go and see if I can dive in and find.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and
very
that
soon.
would be similar. And if not, if you go under edu.sphero.com, that takes you to Sphero Central.
Okay.
Click
You
on
said
Indie.
edu.sphero.com. You
Yep.
said, okay, and then click
Then
on,
click on Indie,
uh-huh.
and then click on Resources.
Okay,
And if you
resources.
scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a bunch of blue buttons there.
Uh-huh.
But there's one there that says Indie Starter PD.
There we go.
That is designed. Yep, perfect. Thank you, Alexis. That'll get you 3/4 of the way there. But if you click on that PD starter deck link, it
Mm-hmm.
will show you pretty much the same deck I used to get you started in that
Okay.
session. There might be a couple different changes because I customize things as I go.
Yeah.
But that is, I'll say, is like probably 95% of the session that you can do at your own pace.
Of the first one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And you said it was called in the starter presentation. Got it. I
Yep.
see.
Yep, I
And
think
Alexis
Okay.
just threw it in the chat. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. I need
Because
Alexis
I
for
thought
all of my presentations.
I know how to code. I've used Scratch. Ha! And my son's a computer science major, and this is and coding is his thing. So when I did the Scratch training,
Mhm.
it's been a long day. I have a loss of words. What he said, and I said, he said, oh, and he pulled his up. So he's a freshman in college, and Scratch still has his games from when he was in 6th grade saved.
That's awesome.
And he could show me what he did he said, "Oh my gosh, my games are still in here."
Yeah.
So that was
That's
cool.
awesome.
And so he's excited about my indies, and he can't wait to break them open and help me get into them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be coding with the tiles, right? Like you
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
need the app if you don't want to.
Right, right. But
Just
that's
like,
just like an extra benefit because kids like to do things on computers. They're so tech savvy now.
yep, absolutely. I do want to mention one more thing before I forget. When you reprogram Indy, it saves that program forever, right? So when I go to do this next demo, if I don't do this next step, it's going to start playing music and I'm not going to have the behavior that I think I'm going to have. So press and hold the power button while it's turned on. So right now it's turned on. If I press and hold that power button, it's going to blink. It's going to play a sound. Let go of the power button. It's going to turn off. And then when I turn it back on, it's back to its default settings.
No.
So just FYI.
Thank you guys so much. I did put the survey in the chat. I know we are at 7:01, so our time is officially done. If you guys would not mind, go ahead and click on that link for us and take the survey. That kind of helps us see where we need to head next. One of the things that Brad, Lisa, and I had been talking about sort of for the future is once you guys have gotten a chance to sort of play around with your indies and come up with your own lessons, is we're going to kind of send out a survey to say, hey, maybe you want to be willing to come back together and maybe run your own session or run the session where you guys get to explain, a Sphero show and share with your indie. So later on down the line, once your year, we're heading towards, the before your micro credentials, I promise, and we will definitely try to keep it to a time where you're not super busy, but maybe consider bringing some of the lessons to the table and sharing with others, be pretty interesting, I think. Did anyone have any other questions for us before we say good night for the evening? Thank you, Lowry. It sounds so fantastic, right? They're so much fun. Thank you, Melanie, so much.
Is there somewhere where I need to do a sign in? Because I joined a little
Nope, I
late.
got you.
Okay.
So
Just do the survey.
yeah.
Okay,
And
yeah,
we're
I'm doing
gonna-
the survey now just because I'm also in grad school to get my reading specialist.
Woohoo!
You're a
And
glutton for
ESL, and I'm
punishment.
doing this, and it's I
It's
just
a
got a
lot.
lot going on. And I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be in some class somewhere. Where am I supposed to be?
Yeah, and so we've got our last round of sessions coming up in February, and when we get there, we'll send Brad the list of attendance, and Sphero will make sure that they send you guys your points and your certification email, and so you'll be good to go.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody, for
thank you guys so
you.
much.
coming and
Thanks so much.
participating.
Yeah, you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for
Thank
joining us.
you.
Brad, where are you headed off to next? What's your next one?
I head out on Saturday morning. I fly out to Austin for TCEA.
Okay.
And then I'm there until Wednesday morning. I fly home. I got about somewhere between 8 and 10 hours to sleep, do laundry, repack, and drive back to the airport to leave for Phoenix, Arizona for
Ooh.
not quite a week, not quite a whole
So
week.
this is why you still have a girlfriend.
Yes, yeah,
Is
right.
you do all this, you do all this traveling, and I'm
Oh,
like,
Yeah, yeah.
Look,
Well,
keeping
she,
it, keeps it alive. Keeps
we're
it
gonna
Yeah.
have you send us a list of your conferences so we can pick and choose and be like, all right, Lisa, we're going to this one. Let's go to this
Oh,
one.
yeah, right.
Like, all right,
Right.
wait, I sent Venetia the one that you just went to, and I said,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about one in London this past week. Oh, here we go. Found it.
Yep. It's the Beck conference.
Yes.
It's actually a really good conference. I would compare it to ISTE.
Okay.
It's very busy. I do not get at any of these conferences. I don't get to see sessions because I'm in the booth the whole time.
Yeah.
So for me to compare those things, I'm a bad judge of that because I don't get to participate in those things. But size wise, I compare it to that. But you're just in a different location, right? You're in London, which is
Yeah.
cool. So
Amazing. And look, we spend half of our time networking inside expos anyway, is coming to
Yeah.
who we need to meet and find and hunt down. So actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
no, it's definitely fun
Awesome.
to do those things. And check out different cities. And London was really cool. I wish it wasn't in the rainy season. It would have been,
And was it
better to.
cold? That's what I was curious. Was it cold?
It was 40s and 50s
Yeah,
like
that's
most of the
good.
time. So it wasn't, well, yeah, it's cold, but it was also that same week here in Pennsylvania, it was -12. So,
Yeah.
so it's all
So
relative.
you actually did pretty well leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. We had about 9 inches of snow the day I left, and I came back to my friends borrowed my four-wheeler and plowed my driveway for me as long as they could use the four-wheeler to plow their driveways so they didn't have to shovel. I'm like, hey, go for it. So I came home to a plowed driveway. My heat was still on. It was nice and warm. I'm like, I missed all the really cold
Yeah.
weather. So I'm like,
And you
yeah,
look, all of that, and you came from London. So look,
yeah. I
all
mean, the
superior right there.
27-hour work day on the way home was just fine. I was like, I'm not upset by this.
Well, we don't see you for a bit, February sometime. I
Yep.
don't date off the top of my head, but it's a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, so we will see you in a few.
Yeah, we have Bolt Plus
In
the advanced part of that, and the advanced part of RVR Plus.
Yeah.
I do think looking at everything, it will probably be Todd running
Yes,
the
you did tell me.
RVR Plus.
Tell me.
That's not for certain yet, but
Yeah,
I'm
you go.
almost positive that's going to be the case, because I'm going to be in the middle of traveling from one training to another,
Yep.
both in Florida at that point. So I think I'll be on the Bright Line train when I should be with you guys. So
Which works for us, and it's just so funny. We don't with kits, we don't get a lot of participants, but I'm glad some of them show up. So even, maybe the others that don't show are like, oh, we got this, which is perfect too. But I'm glad, like we have Emily Ball, she didn't come tonight, which was a surprise because she's pretty much signed up for like every single one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than likely we'll see her next time for one of the others, but the RVR huge hit with our folks. Those are the ones that they requested the most. They had the 3 choices. That was tops on the list. And that seems to be tops on the list of who's signing up as well. So, which makes sense. If that's the one that was ordered in numbers, then that's the session that they would want to attend in numbers. So that actually all makes sense.
Yep. Nope. That sounds good. And we'll dive in, deep on a little deeper on the coding aspect, but being able to bring in all those other things, because Rover is so capable of those things. But we'll dive into coding with that color sensor and some others.
Okay. And I don't know if Outlook lets you share the invitation, but if not, just let me know if he's going to be coming, and I'll send him the invitation so he'll have it on the calendar.
Yep. That sounds good.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much,
Yes,
ladies.
no,
And,
thank
All right.
you.
Good to see you.
it was good to see you, and I'm glad you're back in good health.
I am.
And,
Yes. Thanks
take
for
lots
asking.
take lots of vitamins. That's what I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I
try.
live by hand sanitizer and vitamins when
Yeah,
I'm
me
doing all this
too.
traveling.
Well,
So
Brad, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Lisa, I will see you next week.
All
Right?
right.
Tomorrow. Yes, I'll see you next week. And you guys have a great weekend.
all right.
Right.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.